Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another War Thunder video, and I'm going to make this a quick one because these types of videos have already been put out for the pack sales, but they've come around. I'm going to offer my opinion, so let's get started immediately. We have for USA starting off with the ground. Yes, by the way, I'm talking about ground first, then I'll talk about air. I know more about ground than air, so I'm putting that first. We have the M1 KVT and the clickbait. Now, I know I don't have both of them. Or rather either of them, but we could describe the M301 as like this one, the Abrams at 11.7, because that's basically what it is. It's fine. It's a good tank. It's got some good turret cheek armor. The turret ring's very weak, but if you're not an idiot, you'll actually be able to do pretty well in this. However, it's at 11.7, which means that if you're going to be buying this, please at least research the aim so that you have another vehicle to spawn into. And I do believe that they have a helicopter as well at 11.3, which means that you can also go into a helicopter if you want to. So get at least one of those squadron vehicles before you buy the clickbait, or at least before you start using it, because then you'll then be able to actually spawn back in again and not just be eliminated once you've died a single time. But yeah, clickbait is pretty decent, not amazing. M1 KVT at 10.7 is, again, it's like the Abrams, but slightly lower profile. Slightly weaker side armor as well, but you get a similar experience with this. And I believe those are both of those vehicles there. So we go to Germany. What do we have here? So we have two vehicles for Germany, at least for ground. The Tiger 2, which is basically a Tiger 2H. I would not suggest getting this because the only difference between the Tech 2 one and the premium one is that you get a slightly better engine with slightly better turret armor. And while that may be useful for some people, it's not a big enough difference for me personally to justify the purchase. I just bought it because I like Tiger 2s, right? But if you had to buy a vehicle for Germany, I would absolutely recommend the Term 3. Very, very powerful tank, especially as its BR, because it's got a main cannon and an auto cannon, as well as it being light, which obviously means you'll be sacrificing armor. But when you're up against a lot of light vehicles at that BR, and even sometimes in an up tier, this really shines. If you're not an idiot, again, if you play carefully, you'll be able to actually use this to its fullest potential. I would suggest getting this, honestly. It's a very, very good vehicle. Now we're going on to Russia. We have the IS-6. This isn't great because this is kind of an outdated tank. This has got the 122mm cannon. And honestly, if you're wanting a heavy tank, it's fine, but I would honestly suggest if you've got it already, go for the IS-4M and just talisman that if you haven't already. But, kind of bad that I say that now. The GE sales are gone, but you get what I mean, right? The IS-4, even the IS-3 is better than the IS-6, unfortunately. The IS-6 has got some very weak turret armor at the front. It's a lot easier to pen than either of these two. So if you have these two unlocked, then just play them, right? Play the IS-3, play the IS-4M in place of the IS-6. It's not great. But if you haven't at all grinded Russia, it might be good for you, right? It might be good for you. However, if you're going to be grinding Russia, you see, the T-80 UE1. The T-80 UE1 is fine. I think it's one of the best T-80s that Russia has. However, it is a T-80 platform. You'll be lower plated very easily. You'll be turret ringed very easily. Maybe slightly less easily because it has a caminet, but still, lower plating is very prevalent with the T-80. So take it with a pinch of salt that you will be struggling quite a bit because everybody knows how to pen a T-80. It's very common. And I just remembered as well, quickly going back to Germany, the 2A4M is also on sale. As you can see, I have it. Also, I would not recommend getting this because it's a great tank, great mobility, fantastic round because it's got an American export round, as you can see here, but it's got no armor at all, not even at the front. Anybody can pen you very easily. Even hold down, you're not that great, but you're kind of survivable, but not amazingly. So if you're experienced, then you can, but if you're a new player, don't bother getting the 2A4M and don't bother getting the T-80. I would advise against this. But moving on to Great Britain, they only have the Challenger DS. Now, from what I've been told, I hate Britain. for one. And two, the Challenger DS is actually a little worse than the OES, because the OES has better upper front plate armor than the DS. The DS you can just, especially, and lower plate as well. Like, unless you are hold on, you will just be a sitting duck and you'll get killed very easily. Especially with that BR, you're basically always getting Gen 3 thermals. You'd probably want to avoid getting that and get the OES at some point. Or, hell, even the T90, right? Because that's a better tank than the DS. It even comes with a little bit of armor at the front as well, so that you're slightly less likely to get lower plated. But for Japan, we have what I believe... I don't think they have anything for Japan. Let me just have a look here. Okay, so they do have something for Japan, and it's something that I already own. It's the Type 16 FPS. Now, I did do a video about this a while ago, and I was pretty crap then. I'm still crap now, but less so. But basically, if you're the kind of person that likes fast scout vehicles that pack a bit of a punch, then I guess you could take this, honestly. But the thing is, I would kind of want you to take the Fuji instead. That's overall a more consistent vehicle to get kills in, and I would say a better grinder, because there has an autoloader, and it's a tank. It's got more armor than the FPS, but the FPS has scouting, it has a scout drone, and it means that you have way more mobility than the Fuji, but it depends, really. Like, you could also get the Type 74 to go along with the FPS, but the whole point is that this is a light and fast vehicle. Again, only for experienced players. It's not really an easy vehicle to play. It's fun, but you'll get sniped very easily if you don't know what you're doing. This vehicle needs some map knowledge to be able to be used effectively. For China, we've got the ZTZ96A. This is basically the premium version of the ZTZ96. But as far as I can tell, there really aren't a lot of differences. I mean, the turret armor is about the biggest difference. It's slightly slightly worse protected, actually. But the trouble is that both these tanks will get lower plated very easily. As you can see, like, the lower plate is actually pretty prominent on these tanks. So they're not amazing, but they can be pretty good, especially if you're if you're knowledgeable about top tier. Not the best top tier premiums, I will have to say, but like, they're okay. They're pretty mid. For Italy, I don't think they actually have anything. Again, let me have a check, because I might have forgotten something. Okay, Italy does not have a ground vehicle, so we'll move on from that. The Somma will be on offer. The Somma is very good. It's like the AMX-50, your AMX M4, the AMX-50 Toa 100 and Sabase, etc., etc. Basically, loads of auto-loading tanks. Very, very good. It doesn't have the pike nose, which means it has slightly less armor protection, but if you're able to know the map decently enough, you'll be able to basically kill anybody before they even know that you're there, because of the fact that it has an autoloader, and it's pretty speedy for a heavy tank. So I would give it that as well. Plus, the BR that it's at, you'll have a great selection of different tanks to use. As I've mentioned, well, for example, both AMX-50s, you've got the Lorraine 40T. In fact, I'll show you my rank 5 lineup. Yeah, there you go. You have the AML-90, very good rat tank. You also have the AMX-1390, again, another good light tank. But, you know, you have both light tanks for heat. And then you have a plane, 2 planes perhaps, and a helicopter as well. You've got a lot of choice for the 7-7 lineup, and that's probably the biggest reason why this is so good, is because you've got a lot of tanks to put with it. Plus, it's also an auto-loading tank. I would definitely suggest getting this if you're going to be grinding Ground France. Top-tier premiums, well, France doesn't really have any, sadly, so they're a bit, they're a bit undercooked, I'll have to say. But yes, definitely get this. Worthwhile purchase, I'll have to say. Sweden, what do they have? Well, they have the Vidar, one of the most controversial vehicles in the game. Honestly, until the most recent additions to the game, I would say that this is actually something you should be buying, because it's just insane in its BR. It's slightly less good because there are, for example, the Panzer 2000 for Germany at 7.7, and at 7.3 there's a Chinese SPG there as well. But the Vidar is still pretty strong. Even if you've unlocked those vehicles, the Vidar might be a worthwhile purchase, especially if you're grinding Sweden. However, even if the Vidar is good, if you're going to be grinding Sweden, the CV 9105, what's a good tank? It's a fantastic vehicle, great speed, good gun. It's got scouting, so you'll be able to tell your team where everything is. And I would honestly say it's a great support vehicle for Sweden and for whoever you're playing with as well. So, I mean, in my honest opinion, even though I don't have it, I know for a fact that the CV is very good. I would prefer it over the Christian 2, because the Christian 2 is just a Leopard 2A4. Exact the same copy-paste premium that Germany has. CV is a very unique vehicle. It's very, very good performance. Get that if you're going to be grinding Swedish ground. I would get that more than the Vidar, but if you're bonking people with HE, then by all means. And lastly, we have got Israel. The only pack that is on offer for ground is the M51. The biggest difference being between the Tech Tree one and the premium one is that the armor is in fact different. Which I think that this armor is of the M43 armor, and the Tech Tree one is of the M41, but I could be mistaken. The thing is that this has like a more bulbous design, and the premium one has an angular design, and you want the angular one preferably. But other than that, there's not really many changes really. I don't even know if this tank even gets the 6 spawns that the Tech Tree one has. So who knows? But I don't know. It might not be worth you getting this because it is the first premium pack that you get. I would try and go for the Rams to Gold, but that's not on offer. Other than that, it's basically the same thing. You know, I don't feel like it's a good purchase, but if you like 6.0 and if you like using HE to obliterate any World War II tank, this could be the thing for you, because I think that's the greatest strength of the M51. The HE dominates World War II vehicles if used correctly. So pretty niche vehicle. I wouldn't say it's especially worth it. So those are my opinions about all ground vehicles. Now, I will talk about some of the air vehicles, specifically only the ones that I've bought, because I know less about air. So let's get started. I'm going to have a look at the air quickly. Okay, so the only one that I have bought is the Mirage F1C200. And this is basically the premium version of the F1CT. And it's fine. I wouldn't say it's an amazing plane, but it is pretty decent. It's definitely going to carry you through the early portions of the tech tree. For example, as you can see, I'm at 8.0. I used that jet plane to grind it all, and it means that you won't need to really grind for anything of that plane because you have Magic 2s already, and they're also already a pretty decent missile. So if you're planning to grind the French tree, I would probably say go for this. It's an easy plane to work with, but the thing is that you'll be coming across a lot of 12.3, which means F14s. Those are going to be your biggest annoyance. You're going to have to learn how to notch a lot of the time, and you're going to have to learn how to fly low. So buy this only with the knowledge that you're probably going to be a bit frustrated in the beginning because of the fact that you're going to be dying a lot. But yes, this is going to be a pretty good stopgap for example, the Mirage 4K or the Mirage 2005F for the Megas. But yeah, that's really it. That's all I've got for you today. There's my very quick rundown of all the packs that are, at least all the packs that I want to comment on for this video. Hopefully you have been a little bit more informed, and if you have any questions, just put them down in the comments below and I'll try and give a more thorough explanation as to why I pick certain premiums over the other. But just before I go, what would be the premiums that I would pick? Again, this is like one ground premium per country. What would I pick? Okay, very quickly we'll go through this. I should have probably done this earlier, but if we're just speaking on ground, as I'm more experienced than that, I would say for America, I would say M1 KVT, because clickbaits, you know, only get a clickbait if you've got the aim. If you have got the aim or another squadron vehicle to go alongside your clickbait, then you can get the clickbait. It's fine. But for Germany, get the Term 3. For USSR, don't get anything. I don't think there's nothing really here that's worth buying unless you like World War II/Cold War vehicles. Great Britain, avoid that. There's nothing really worth buying there. Japan is a bit of a niche one. If you do well and wield light tanks, the FPS is a very solid choice. For China, ZTZ is also a pretty good choice, although, you know, it's not amazing, but it'll definitely help you in top tier. For Italy, they've got no ground on offer. For France, the Somewhere is definitely a tank you should pick up. For Sweden, the CV is a very good light tank. I would definitely suggest getting that for grinding that tree. Especially, even over the Vidar, I think that the CV is very, very good. And for Israel, there's nothing really worth picking up in there. So, there you go. That is the video. Hopefully, you are more informed. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.